How to upgrade laptop components. Let's go ahead and dive in. Now you'll see off to the side here, I've got the documentation for the laptop that we're going to upgrade its components. We've also got our tools ready to go, as likewise we've got our ESD wrist strap. So we'll go ahead and we'll put this on and get ready to work inside of the case. Now, I will tell you, one of the things that you want to do is back up any information that's on the laptop before you start working on it, because of the fact that, well, in case something happens, you want to be able to restore your data. Also take those, take the anti-static prevention techniques and refer to the documentation in the reference material. And that's actually off to the side here. I've gone out to Dell's website and pulled down the documentation for the Inspirion that we're going to be working on here today. So let's go ahead and all the peripherals are disconnected. We're going to go ahead and we're going to turn this upside down to try to remove any of the field replaceable units. Really, the only thing from this model on the bottom that we can do is really replace the CD. But keep in mind, in any laptop, regardless of what FRUs or field replaceable units you have access to, the first thing you want to do is you want to disconnect the battery and remove that and leave that off to the side. You don't want your battery present. So we're going to go ahead and we're going to remove the optical drive, and we've got to remove this screw, and then we're going to use this little area, and we're going to take a little screwdriver, and we can actually push the optical drive out. So we're going to go ahead and do that now. All right, we've got the optical drive ready to go ahead and remove, and I wanted to also mention that it's a good idea that you make sure that you diagram or take pictures of each one of the steps, so that as you put it back together, you can refer to those pictures with the vendor documentation. So we're going to go ahead and we'll remove the optical drive, and we'll set this to the side. And the next spot, or the next step we're going to do is we're going to actually remove each one of the chassis or frame screws, and we'll put them in a safe place off to the side, making sure that we label them so that we do know that they are the frame screws. Next, we're going to go ahead and we will remove the keyboard. Now, depending on what type of keyboard you have, it might be screws that you have to undo. In this case, if we're really careful, all we have to do is pull the keyboard out like this. This one actually pops right out. And then we got to be very, very careful and diligent not to break this cable. And it lets us know, take the ribbon cable and just move it up a little bit. And there we go. You can remove the keyboard. All right, now we've removed the keyboard, and I went ahead and started to remove the screws, because you'll see in your steps that it does say to remove the touchpad assembly, but for this one, that's actually one of the last things that you do on this laptop. So what we're going to do is we're going to turn this over, and we're going to remove the base cover so that we can get to the speakers, because the speakers are actually right for this laptop are right under the base cover. So we'll go ahead and do that. And as you see, we have removed the base cover, so we have access to the inside of our laptop. And keep in mind that our speakers are right here. And that's the next thing that we're going to remove. And there's a couple of things that I want to point out. And one is this cable down here that connects the left and the right speaker together. Be very careful with that. It's actually in these routing clips that help to keep it off to the side and out of the way of everything else. And I'm just very easily just pulling on that, if you can see. And then if we pull that over there so you can actually see that wire, that allows me to take the right speaker out, and I can take the left speaker out as well. And the last thing that we have to do to remove the speakers, there's a little connecting cable here. It looks like a little 4-pin Berg connector for this laptop. And we're just going to remove that clip, and we'll just take our little tweezers here, and we'll just kind of pull back on that. Keep in mind, I don't want to touch the circuitry on the board because the caustic nature of the oils in your hands will corrode the motherboard, as well as potentially damaging through electrostatic discharge, even though we do have our ESD wrist strap on. So we'll remove that, and we're going to set that to the side, and we'll move into the next step. Next thing we're going to do is go ahead and disassemble the display unit and remove the display unit. Now, be very careful with this one. As with everything, you have to be careful. But you'll notice that our wireless adapter is right here. And then you'll notice this cable here and kind of like these routing guides here. That's actually your wireless antenna, or I should say your wired antenna for your wireless adapter. So you're going to want to be very mindful of that when you take that off. So you're going to notice that one of the things that we're going to do here is just be mindful, and this is where it's good to take pictures so you know which of the posts go on what point here. We're going to remove the cable, the antennas, basically disconnecting them from the wireless adapter. And then next thing that we're going to do is kind of move these routing pins up just a little bit, not too much because you don't want to break them, and it's very easy to. And then with your tweezers, you can kind of pull out the plastic tab that helps align that. And you'll notice that now what we can do is we can remove this cable, being mindful that we also want to take it out of the routing guides along the base of the plastic cover or the frame as well here too. Next, what we have to do is we have to remove these screws and lift these mounts up that will allow us to release the display from the unit. We're going to go ahead and do that now. So you'll see that we have removed the screws here that are actually mounting these hinges to the base unit, and it's really all from here. What we're going to do in the next step is just to move that hinge out of the way, and same thing on this side. We'll move these hinges, just being careful and being mindful of their location, and we'll move into the next step to remove the display from the laptop. Next, we're going to go ahead, and the display unit is actually attached with a cable here, so we're going to prepare the system board to be removed. We're going to disable or remove the wireless adapter. We'll disconnect the drive cable that attaches to the motherboard, and then we'll go ahead and we'll lift the system board off so that we can get to that ribbon cable and disconnect, or this connection point, the display cable, and remove it from the unit. Now, we've dismantled enough of the components here to remove the motherboard, the system board, just enough to get our cable out so that we can remove our display. And it's fairly easy from here. It's just a matter, you've got to be careful now. I'm going to hold on to the system board so it doesn't fall here by the top of the heatsink. Again, preserve it, or remember, always utilize ESD prevention methods. And then from here, once that cable is disconnected, it's really just a matter of separating the display from the unit. And there you go, we've removed our display. All right, now that we've done that, let's go ahead and we will remove our display and we'll set that to the side. And one of the last steps that we're going to do is go ahead and install our new speakers that we want to upgrade. So that'll be our next component. Let's replace the laptop speakers that we took out earlier. So we've got our replacement speakers here. Now what we're going to do is we're just going to put the new speakers back in. Fairly easy, straightforward process. Again, pay attention to the vendor documentation. And the one thing I'll say with your speakers, be very careful of this little wire, and especially when it comes to things like the antenna in the wireless card, because if you're replacing the display and putting it back together, you want to be mindful of the routing here like we showed you when we took the wireless antenna off. Same thing here. We're going to go ahead and we'll put these roughly in the spot that they need to be. And what I'll do is I'll use my tweezers here, and we'll use those to connect the speaker back to the system board. And then what we'll do is we'll put them roughly in the spot that they need to be. And being mindful of this routing position, you'll see here that what we do is we actually tuck these back into the little routing guides. And we do that across the entirety of this cable here to make sure that it's out of the way and that it is tight. And then once that's done, we essentially have replaced our speakers. And we'll go ahead and finish this up, and we'll get ready for the next step. Now that we've gone ahead and we've replaced our speakers, now what we got to do is just follow the reverse order in our diagrams documentation and the vendor specifications and instruction manual to reassemble our laptop and put it back together.